Well, Jim, let's go now to another story. And this is one, there's a lot going on, so trying to wrap my head around it. I don't know how much you've seen about Ricky Starks. Apparently, Ricky Starks, who we have not seen on TV since the spring, he was one of the tag team champions with Big Bill. And then he was gone, and Big Bill was put with Jericho. He has been home. Everyone's been wondering what's going on. There are rumors that maybe Ricky Starks had, depending on how you see it, the wrong friends for AEW. Maybe the right friends for a career and for good advice. I don't know. But Ricky Starks got some heat apparently when he showed up at Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble, and security footage was leaked of that. He's been home. Apparently he was at Full Gear backstage. Tony Khan agreed to let him work indies. He made an appearance for Game Changer Wrestling at the mall in East Rutherford, a big mall. Did a promo. And then we heard that he was pulled from all future dates with Game Changer Wrestling. Now, this comes on the heels of us talking briefly about, they booked their second show at the Hammerstein. They did one a few years ago, I think, and it was kind of a disaster. Part of the problem is, I think, if you are doing garbage wrestling or, hardcore wrestling, whatever you want to call it, you probably shouldn't be running in New York City. The Athletic Commission's going to kill you. You can't do anything.
Well, yeah. It's everything that they attempt to do is something that the commission will shut you down for doing.
Right, so if that's your brand of wrestling, it may not be the best thing strategically to do the biggest show ever in a place where you can't do your style. But they were coming back to the Hammerstein. They just announced it in January. Well, they announced the date is in January, let me clarify. And then AEW announced 3 dates in December at the Hammerstein for a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, a Dynamite taping, and then another taping. So obviously there were some problems there. Before we discuss any more, I'm going to play you a few clips of audio here.
Well, and can I say something just about that? That I'm sure that the folks up at, and by the way, we affectionately know of GCW as Garbage Championship Wrestling because they tend to champion that type of, but they can't claim ownership of the Hammerstein Ballroom. Well, shit. Ring of Honor was running it 4 times a year, for one period, but ran it or the Manhattan Center downstairs, the other room, Manhattan Center, right? Is that the name of the whole complex?
No, the complex is what's the Hammerstein, and then the Manhattan Center was at the top.
Yes. Well, the point is, it's somewhere in the building. Ring of Honor ran it 4 times a year for years. And now this company has gotten in before and they're going to do it again a couple years later. I don't think it was any revelation that suddenly, oh, goddamn, GCW is going to run New York at the Hammerstein Ballroom and we've got to do something to fuck up their business. As much as, again, Tony Khan, who appropriated many other things from Ring of Honor in that purchase. So, well, goddamn, we only need a couple of thousand people and it's in New York City and we could do 3 days in a row. Or someone pitched him this idea in the company. We did 3 days in a row in the same building before Christmas and people ain't going to be traveling on Christmas and we can save load in and load out. And it's a wrestling building and it ties to Ring of Honor Final Battle. And then we get our other taping in. And old GCW is just collateral damage. From my assessment of having been in negotiations to run that fucking building and blah, blah, blah. I don't think they're trying to put these people out of business. But then again, apparently somebody else said something snippy about Tony or his family, and that may not have helped.
And we're going to play a few bits of audio here to try to get some clarity on this whole story. And it is important to know GCW, I don't know exactly what, but they've had some sort of relationship or tried to form a relationship with WWE. We've seen pictures of the promoter with Stephanie McMahon at WrestleMania. And, there's reason to think that WWE, while they're... Go ahead.
Well, that's some weasel sliding up to Stephanie. Can I take my picture with you? Or whatever the fuck. Yeah,
All right.
Come on.
Well, let's go.
Like Stephanie's going to have any talks with any independent promoters about business. at WrestleMania.
Well, let's first go to this audio. This is Ricky Starks. I'm not exactly sure who did this interview, so I apologize for not giving credit, but the interviewer is not pictured here, and it doesn't have where this is from, but let's go to this first.
I was so frustrated with the day before, Tony comes out and announces that Punk is gone. And then I actually opened that show with a promo. Watch the promo. Very good. And you can kind of tell what's happening. But I was so frustrated about things happening the way they have, right? And I'll never forget someone telling me, like, just be grateful that you even have a job. Like the Saturday, I remember someone being like, just be grateful you have a job. And I'll never forget feeling like, how dare you? Don't tell me to be grateful for something that I've worked very hard for. That's saying, I know that you're hungry for a dinner. Here's a half-eaten loaf of bread. Actually, no, let me take that back. Here's just the crumbs. Fuck you. Don't tell me just be grateful for something. You don't live my life.
Let me stop it there for a second, because that's not just an AEW thing. In the past, that was a big WWE thing. What do you think about the idea that these guys should all just be grateful for being there?
Well, some of them should, but he wasn't one of them. See, that's the thing. When you look at, Chuck Taylor, give me a break, right? When you look at some of the people and what they're being paid, or that they're being paid at all, yes, they should consider themselves lucky. But Starks wasn't on that list. But that's the way a lot of them think. Hey, we got, we can play with our friends. And, the guy's a billionaire and his dad gave blah, blah, blah. But Starks wants to be better. And that's, again, he was used well by CM Punk on the brief period of time that Punk had some say or in the Collision program. Or he was with Cody because they were friends, because Cody could see a guy that had talent that could go somewhere, do something. Imagine if Carmelo Hayes was actually interesting and Ricky Starks became the first round draft pick. He could have got some attention with it. But he's got the wrong friends, because he was friends with other stars that were motivated to do business instead of be happy that they had fucking jobs or whatever.
Well, let's go to the end of this part of Ricky Starks' audio.
You don't understand the things that I have gone through to even just get in this moment. That it really set me off. So when it came to Sunday, I was looking forward to it, but I didn't realize what laid ahead of me and what I was actually going to be capable of doing.
Let me stop it there. I have another little section of audio here from Ricky from the same interview, apparently. Let's go to this. This is talking about when he was caught on security camera with Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble.
I had people from my job being like, I had one guy, he was just like, were you at the Rumble last night? I said, yeah, and what the fuck about it? What about it? He goes, just saying that's a bad look, I said, how is it a bad look? I can't control somebody taking a security footage while I'm walking to a bus. I don't control that. Like, how is that? Tell me how that is a bad look. We got people on our own program talking about other people at the other company, but yet me having my security footage exposed is a bad look. Give me a break. I had people from my job.
Oh, and then it replayed itself. Yeah. But again, I think beyond just the Ricky Starks part of this, and that's the part of, that's the whole story here, but it goes to a lot of the mindset of the people in AEW. Again, Ricky Starks, in terms of political favor, he was a guy that Cody Rhodes was a big supporter of. He was a guy that purportedly CM Punk was a big supporter of. Those guys aren't there anymore. And certainly in the case of Punk publicly, it was an acrimonious split. And now he's still back there. And I must mention, this is all coming on the heels that right now on Twitter, the way they do the trending stuff's a little differently now. It's like stories. AEW's contract strategy with Ray Phoenix sparks debate. Because the word is now coming out, I guess, again today. Here, from the Wrestling Observer News, AEW is reportedly not letting Ray Phoenix out of his contract, but they have no plans to use him. So again, we're talking about Ricky Starks here, but the idea that people get sent home, Never hear anything from AEW. We heard this really early on when Jelly and Nutella left, remember? No one from the company ever contacted him ever again.
Yes. And first, let me say that, by the way, so nobody can say, Cornette's a hypocrite. The guy from the WWF that went to the TNA show that time and got fired, he said, well, he should have known better. He was sitting in a fucking crowd and was on camera on the production, not on security footage in the back of the goddamn building or wherever. And you, in modern times, in the old days, if a territory was running opposition and you showed up at their show, you were asking to get fired. But in the modern era, we've had numerous examples of people from the WWF going to indie shows or whatever, or vice, all these companies to support their friends and not making public appearances or being seen, whatever. Sometimes being seen, actually probably trying to. But he went to, I don't even know where he was in the building, but the only way they got any footage of him or anybody took a picture of him was the building security camera. So I think that's pretty much as kayfabe as you can get in the modern world to not make it drawing attention that you're somewhere for another company.
So again, Ricky Starks in AEW limbo. Doesn't seem like he's much more knowledgeable about his situation than the fans are. And Tony Khan extending the contract of Rey Fenix, seemingly just because he knows that Rey Fenix is going to be signed by WWE. There are guys, again, purportedly, sent home, like Miro, who they don't intend to use. He won't approve any of their creative, and they won't let him out of his contract because they don't want him to go to WWE. There's a pattern here. Now, to the GCW end of it, before this Ricky Starks thing, there was some heat again, or I don't even know if heat's the right word, but probably just what the fuck are they doing? When they announced the Hammerstein dates, Effy, who's a wrestler for GCW, I believe he's one of their top guys.
Effy?
He's the one famous for trying to shove Marco Stunt's face onto a dildo.
Oh, geez.
There's some sort of perverted gimmick. I don't know what, but he was on a podcast, or it's his podcast, I'm not sure, commenting about AEW and GCW and this Hammerstein thing. So I got a few bits of audio here. Let's see what he says.
We are moving forward to the big Hammerstein show. And let me be honest, all right? I'm not going to sound bitter.
Frank.
I'm going to be fucking frank. We announced the show. It's big. We're returning almost 3 years later to the date. Big time. And there's no way it's not going to make me sound like somebody could clip this and be like, he's being a jealous bitch. Not only 2 weeks later, AEW announces they're going to do the same venue 3 nights. For them, it would be considered a smaller venue. Ring of Honor historically has used this venue. WWE has historically used this venue. ECW has historically used this venue. There's a lot of wrestling history in this venue. The current Ring of Honor is not what Ring of Honor was before. It's mostly just kind of their AEW dark product. I understand they want to do it. It's very exciting for people to do it. I don't understand why there's no exclusivity to wrestling. I guess we didn't negotiate it.
Well, let me stop it there for a second, because again, you have negotiated with that building. In terms of exclusivity for wrestling product, should it be there? Is that something you could have asked for and would have gotten, or is that something that would have never been on the table? And if AEW's booked themselves in there and they announced it 2 weeks after GCW, based on your experience, how long do you think AEW, at a minimum, would have likely been negotiating with the building or talking to the building? It's not. Do you think it's something that they would have done right after GCW's announcement and put the deal together in 2 weeks, or what do you think?
Oh, then they've changed management considerably. If they got from start to finish, hey, can I have a date, to it's announceable in 2 fucking weeks with those fucking people. Jesus Christ. We ended up finding out about 1 day before we announced it 1 year with Ring of Honor, that Final Battle that they said we had the date. We didn't have the date. And we had to do it a week later because they said, oh, well, we rented the upstairs building which one was upstairs? The Manhattan Center upstairs, Hammerstein downstairs. Okay. we had the Manhattan Center for Final Battle. They said, oh no, because we've rented the downstairs building and you can't use the elevator. How the fuck we gonna get a wrestling ring up 6 flights of? So anyway, they will fuck you around and sandbag or whatever. There's no way that they did this from start to finish in 2 weeks. I can't believe that. No.
Exclusivity.
Yeah, you can't get like exclusivity if you've never run the building before. You can't just say, okay, now you're not going to take any other wrestling shows, right? Or if you haven't run it in 3 years or whatever. But if you do have a date, you can reasonably ask for exclusivity. And remember, Vince used to do this in the old days. Give me a 14 or 21 days on either side of my date, no other wrestling events. And then he'd figure out a way to book a date in that building so that it was always less than 21 days. But you see what I'm saying on either side?
Wrestle War, was it Wrestle War in Nashville where Vince ran the building in Nashville the day before the NWA pay-per-view and had his crew stay there late so that they couldn't set up?
Yes, because that's when TBS had just taken over and didn't realize what the fuck they were doing and not getting exclusivity on the dates. But no, we even with Ring of Honor, yes, with some of these places that we would go, we'd ask for 14 or 21 days before or afterwards, what depending on the venue. And a lot of people would do that, and they started doing that in the wars in the 80s between Crockett and Vince. When they're legitimate buildings, sometimes it's just a fucking rec center, and I'm going to put Floyd, my cousin, at the front door to sell tickets at a table, and you get what you get.
Well, let's go back to audio from Effy.
But by the way, so far, I haven't disagreed with anything this fucking guy said so far.
Me neither.
I don't see what's inflammatory yet.
Well, let's go back to Effy. Let's see what he said here that caused the problem, allegedly.
It's very confusing that, like, within the same month, y'all got to run the same venue as us. When for us as an independent, this is a larger thing. For you, this is a way to cover up the fact that a Ring of Honor pay-per-view right now could not sell out the tickets you think it could. And even asking Daniel Bryan to come back for the last big one you did in Texas to come to that show still wasn't that sold on.
Well, there's the TikTok noise there at the end. That's where this video came from. That's the end of part 1. I mean, I could see why Tony, being sensitive, would have a little bit of a problem with. At the very end, they're saying, I could see why you're doing it because you can't sell tickets to Ring of Honor under your management.
We've come to find out that when people even just talk sternly or strenuously to Tony, that he tends to get intimidated, and just because he's not used to that type of thing in this world. So
that's right.
Maybe that is it. I don't. Anyway, what's in part 2?
Yeah, here's more from Effy.
Still wasn't that sold on tickets. And this is nothing to the talent. I think the talent, you should take anything you can get. But also, y'all have no buzz, no draw. And we've been riding the lightning on having to actually run a profitable company for the past few years to continue existing. We do not have as much backup. I'll put it this way. My company, I don't run a company. Our company, GCW can't run on a $40 million deficit and continue to run shows.
Let me stop it there for a moment. Okay. I think we may have found the smoking gun.
We may have gotten to the root of the problem here, Doctor. Well, yeah. And again, I don't know about whether or not Garbage Championship Wrestling, because let's remember who we're talking about still here, is riding the lightning bolt, riding the edge of the lightning bolt, baby, on their own part. But,
But in terms of having to be profitable, though, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That is a company, I'm pretty sure they don't have multi-million-dollar investors. They are, bootstrapping it. So whatever success they do have, they have to make it work.
Apart from a little overconfidence in his team, I again still can't disagree with he's speaking facts. It's what he's doing, but I see the part where Tony Khan may have got nettled.
Well, let's go back to this.
But some of us have the privilege of being able to run at a $40 million deficit.
Brett doesn't own a football team?
Brett does not own a football team. Brett doesn't have a dad who pays him to stay away. I don't want this to be a personal thing. Like, I don't. But, hey, guys, you're not you're not the only game in town. It's fine. I can't stop you from running venues. But in my line of work, when TNA Impact wanted to run center stage, GCW, a month before and a month after, were told we could not have those dates that we had secured before because it was competing with something they were doing. And now it just seems the game and the respect never goes both ways, and it's fine. We're not mad. Our people will be there. Our show will be great. We will show it out. But it isn't fun to see that, like, we're so out of ideas right now that the timing is that conspicuous to you showing up and doing that immediately after we announce that we're doing that.
Well, there it is, part 2. And I think that's the other line.
Center stage, we ran also, and they will do that. It's a smaller facility. They're a little bit more professionally run down there in Atlanta than this fucking Mooney orifice that we're talking about here. And also it's Atlanta, not New York City. So as I recall, they did do a month before and after as an exclusivity period for a particular genre of event, not like just concert, but, you know, pro wrestling is kind of a specific thing.
One of the lines that people have really honed in on that apparently was one that upset Tony Khan, and I'm not even sure how this was brought to Tony's attention, this interview, you would think Tony's a busy guy, was saying that Tony's dad paid him to stay away.
Yeah, that was a little stiff. And I didn't know he had to stay away because everybody says the Jaguars are pretty much as sloppy as AEW.
AEW apparently pulled Ricky Starks from future GCW dates, including, I believe, the Hammerstein. And the word that came back
but
was...
they won't let him work their show on the Hammerstein.
So the word that came back was this Effy interview was a big part of the reason why, if not the primary reason why. What do you think of that? Because again, Effy doesn't own the company. He's just a wrestler on the show. He even said it there. It's not my company. It's our company. What do you think about the idea that a promotion's being punished? Well, that's the only way you could see this because it's embarrassing as fuck when you have someone debut, announce dates, and then the next day he's pulled. That's embarrassing.
Well, you know, there's levels to this. There's degrees to this. Interpromotional commingling. In Ring of Honor 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was, some of these guys still wanted to work pro wrestling guerrilla in Reseda because it was where they went and played with their friends. Even though they got contracts, they said, can we please do this? All right. They're not on pay-per-view. They're not on television. Nobody knows about it. They sell DVDs. You can do this. But then, and I mean, that was the thing. It always had been with Kerry Silkin, yes, blah, blah, blah. But with Sinclair, they're signing contracts, blah, blah. They're wondering why are these people being allowed to go do this in a barn, right? So we would give them that wanted it, the exemption to go to PWG. And then somebody, I can't remember who, got hurt. It wasn't life-threatening, but injured and missed some shows. And we're like, why are we doing this again? Because they want to. But what the fuck? We've got to go tell somebody in the Sinclair accounting department that we've got to, you know, we got to goddamn pay this guy for these couple of shows, but he can't wrestle. He's going to talk because he hurt himself. Where'd he hurt himself? Well, somewhere else. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. So there's reasons why that you would not want, and exclusivity in markets or confusion in the marketplace. You wouldn't want your regular guys doing things for smaller promotions that would conflict with your business. But having said that, they're not using this fucking guy. They are paying him, but obviously they don't want to use him, and he obviously don't want to be there. They won't let him go. So they say, all right, we'll let you do some independence because he wants to wrestle. He's going to be if he doesn't wrestle for 2 years, he's going to kind of be the shits for a while again. So they tell him he can work some dates where at least he can work on some shit and get out there and blah, blah, blah. And then with what I think is probably, as I said, an unrelated matter, they just AEW has reached the point where they have to go to the as small of a building as GCW considers a big building, and they've met in the middle. But they couldn't have done this from scratch in 2 weeks. I'm sorry. And Blabbermouth there said the truth and pissed off an overly sensitive man. And now this, or somebody, around Tony go, well, see those outlaws? You try to do a favor for a guy and they badmouth us. And well, don't let him work it. It's just fucking children. All of them, children.
So here's a question. GCW is involved with, I believe, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. That's the stuff that he does. It's shoot-style matches where they take the ropes down. It's a cool look. Is Moxley and Marina Shafir, are they going to be allowed to continue to participate? Is Moxley banned from GCW also? Because there were stories where Moxley apparently held up the promoter. I don't know if you want to say hold up. I'll say it. He held up the promoter and said he insisted on Nick Gage getting paid the same amount that he does, or he wouldn't work.
Oh, well, that would have put an end to fucking me offering Mr. Moxley any continued dates as a promoter, but, you never know. It will be interesting if they go play in somebody else's pool after this guy has muddied the puddle.
And here's what the Observer says about this. While nobody officially said anything, the strong belief actually confirmed to us. The strong belief actually... Well, there's a lot going on in this. While nobody officially said anything, the strong belief actually confirmed to us is that the comments from Effy of GCW on Tony Khan, particularly a line he said about Khan's father paying him to stay away, led to Khan feeling he didn't want to do business with GCW. Those very close to the situation confirm this is accurate, aka Tony Khan. That Khan made the call to pull Starks because he felt the line insinuating that Khan's father pays him to stay away, Dave's written it twice now, was uncalled for, and those in AEW also noted the story about AEW having no buzz or draw, apparently based on what Effy said, is notable when GCW was putting up flyers for their show at the Hammerstein at AEW's Newark, New Jersey pay-per-view show that just did more than 10,000 fans. Effy has complained about Khan booking 3 dates at the Hammerstein a month before GCW's show. And then it says here, again, we just heard the audio, so here's Dave's summary of it. Effy said that AEW has no buzz, no draw, and how we have to run a profitable company, and we don't have the backup. He said that our company can't run on a $40 million deficit and continue to run shows. But he said others have the privilege of being able to run at a $40 million deficit and continue to run shows. He said that Brett Lauderdale, the promoter, doesn't own a football team or have a daddy who pays him to stay away. That's 3 times Dave has written it.
Jeez.
The latter was the line that broke the camel's back. He said that at GC, and then he talks about the stuff we all heard. But this happened 2 days after Khan had allowed Marina Shafir and MVP to wrestle for a GCW show, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. And he also allowed Moxley to appear. So again, there's a lot here, for the cynic out there who thinks, oh, they're obviously building up a big invasion angle where GCW will invade. That, I guarantee that would be the biggest disaster ever. They're not doing that. But what do you think? I mean, is the solution just release Ricky Starks if you're not going to use him? You're not the good guy for paying him to stay home?
Yeah, see, that's the thing is, I don't know that it's as much of a business strategy for Tony Khan to keep people away from the WWE when the WWE would want to sign them as much as it is he wants to avoid confrontations with people. And when they're away from him and he can feel good that he's sending them a check and they're making their money, but he doesn't have to talk to them, he doesn't have to deal with them. If it's going to be awkward for him, then that's, I think, a bigger motivation for him than, I don't want the WWE to have these guys. And they want to get out of there because it didn't fit what they wanted to fucking do.
Do you make him a bigger star by holding him to the contract and everyone knowing about it? So that, he can't hold him forever. Eventually he will be free.
Well, but no, you don't make him a bigger star because remember everyone in quotation marks, as Cowboy Bill Watts would say. It's not, everyone is not living and dying with the movements of Ricky Starks' employment. He needs to be able to get out there and get some buzz and get some people seeing him and talking about him again and doing something and applying himself. And he can't do that sitting at home. And he's got all the potential in the world and he's very good at what he does, but he was still on the secondary show in and out quite a bit. And it suffers the same as everybody else of the bad booking. Is just it's worn off now because he's been off so long. He'll have goodwill with the independent audience and with the audience up to the level of the AEW audience, but he'll be brand new to the goddamn NXT or WWE or wherever he would end up there. So it's not good him just sitting back wasting time. He doesn't want to.
If you were the promoter, do you think that Effy did anything wrong? Did Effy do anything wrong? I mean, he's on his podcast venting his frustrations about a very real situation. This is before the Ricky Starks thing. Was Effy wrong to take that public, or was it just that, the shots at Tony Khan obviously had repercussions?
Well, we don't know how the promoter thinks, because maybe there was talk, maybe the promoter already had decided, well, fuck these fucking people anyway or whatever. But I don't know. I wouldn't know a picture of Effy if I saw it on a post office wall. I've never seen Effy wrestle or whatever the fuck. But I would assume that Effy is not one of the main event guys. Here's the thing I'm trying to say. If this promoter of Garbage Championship Wrestling still wanted to use AEW guys and still was having a relationship with them just because they had announced the Hammerstein ballroom events, and one of my underneath or middle card guys, or even a main event guy, went into business for himself and said shit in public that pissed the promoter off to where I can't now use the talent or the goddamn business relationship, I would be with a club beating fucking Effy over the head right now. But if that had already been blown up behind the scenes before he made these comments and he didn't know it, or the promoter feels the same way that Effy does, well, then that's another matter. But
and should Tony keep holding these guys to their contracts?
Well, hold on. And because the reason why that I say that about Effy and his comments is because I guarantee you that there's no way that AEW hadn't started trying to do 3 days of TV taping in a smaller location in New York and decide on the Hammerstein Ballroom and get the building contacted and all of the deal executed and the contract where they could announce it in public in 2 weeks, as you said, from the time that the other folks announced their shit or whatever. It's just not possible. It used to take that long to get an insurance goddamn thing back and forth with these people. And so he made those comments and pissed Tony off for nothing. He should have just bit the bullet and said, well, yeah, they're coming in, but we're going to have a once in a lifetime or once every 3 years event or whatever, and not vent it in public unless he asked his boss, hey, can I blister this billionaire on a fucking podcast?
And I believe the promoter, Brett Lauderdale, said that it was either he doesn't know Tony Khan or he's never dealt with Tony Khan. So whatever appearances in the past, like a Moxley or whoever has made on their shows, it wasn't him working, office to office to put it together.
Oh, Jesus.
It just somehow came together.
Even worse then. And I guess why would we think Tony, would want to take time away from his busy booking to talk to other promoters? But that's even worse than if he'd been working through Chris Daniels or somebody in the office, and then this guy goes, anyway, should Tony hold guys their contracts? If he wants to use them and they say, well, we don't want to do this shit, which we hear happens up and down the card of people, instead of saying okay and they go home and they get paid, then he should say, okay, you're going home, but we're going to suspend you for refusing direction, and we'll start paying you when you come back and do what we want you to do. That's how you ought to hold them to their contracts. or if they just say, no, I'm going home and I'm not coming back until you find something creatively I like, then yeah, hold them to their contracts and say, no, you're going to goddamn do this. But if you don't want to use a guy and not just for a few months, but I don't want to use him anymore, then that's bullshit. He's been gone so long. Let him out of his deal so he can go somewhere else. It's not like you don't want a guy leaving TV directly and going to the other side, but it's been months. And then again, and with Ray Phoenix, if a guy was hurt and you extend the time, that's one thing. If you paid him while he was injured and he was out for months and months, then you come back and you extend the contract where you're going to pay him the extended period of time too. I can understand that. But not if I don't want to use this guy. He's pissed me off. My friends don't like him. But I'm just not man enough to say, hey, let's negotiate your release. Give me a 90-day window you can't show up on TV. Whatever the fuck. Don't just make him sit there.
Well, Jim, if I asked you to place a wager, if I said, hey, do you want to go down to the casino and bet on if Ricky Starks will be on Dynamite or NXT? Which show will he be on first? What would you say?
Well, I'd say we don't have to go down to the casino, Brian, because the casino will come to us. With DraftKings Casino, it's right on your phone or your tablet or your mobile device or your computer in your luxurious and spacious office. Wherever that you go to do the things that you do online, you can go to the DraftKings Casino, and you don't have to sit on sweaty stools and drink watered-down free drinks brought to you by cocktail waitresses with daddy issues and fucking a complete boredom about their jobs.
Oh, sounds like a real party.
Because now, that's right, you can party in your house with DraftKings Casino, and you can do all the things that you can't do in a real casino in your own house. Just don't let anybody know about it.
No cocktail waitresses supplied by DraftKings.
Well, you got to get your own of those, but DraftKings will send you some booze. But anyway,
no, they won't do. Let's just clarify that right now. They will not be sending any alcohol to anyone, especially interstate.
Oh, so it just the head DraftKings guy must just like me. Well, it's the most wonderful time of the year, folks. Holidays on the house at DraftKings Casino. With this season's offerings, you'll unwrap everything on your list except the cocktail waitresses. Exclusive games, huge jackpots, exciting rewards, and the folks at DraftKings are offering a warm welcome to new players with $100 instantly. Hold on. That was a better snap. At the snap of a finger instantly, $100 in casino credits with just a $10 wager. And everybody, new and old customers, whether you're 8 or 80, well, I guess you got to be 18.
Over the age
somewhere.
Yeah, over the age of whatever the age is, but not
yes. It'd just be 25 just in case. But you can be as old as you want. You can be you're ready to turn to dust. And they'll take your money. Everybody can get in on the action with a holiday reward every week. So right now, sign up with code Cornette. That's my last name, and there's an E on the end. Spell it right now. Because the holiday cheer is here only on DraftKings Casino. The code Cornette for $100 instantly in casino credits. And you can use that, I understand, at the snack bar for cheesesteak sandwiches, the casino credits. $100 with just a $10 wager.
That's
code
right.
Cornette.
Yes, that's right. And actually, Jim, on this note, we have a very special holiday message from a friend of ours. Let's go to that now.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 and over. Physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only. Void in Ontario. Eligibility restrictions apply. New customers only. Opt-in required. Casino credits are non-withdrawable and expire in 168 hours. Terms at casino.draftkings.com/promos.
That's
Did
right.
he say West Virginia?
Oh, he may have. I don't know.
I understand they don't have jeans in West Virginia.
Void in Ontario. I believe that's Greg Oliver's memoir of trying to cash a check from Angelo Mosca. But once again, the crown is yours with DraftKings Casino. Isn't that right, Jim?
That's exactly right, Brian.
The crown is yours.
Well, no, you take it for a while.